This is a review of the Shoei Neotec II modular helmet, and it's one of two helmets that I use on a regular basis. I've been using this helmet for a little over half a year, for thousands and thousands of miles, and it has performed pretty well. With any helmets, there's always a lot of pros and cons. And ever since I saw the BMW modular helmet back in the old world in the 80s, I always liked the concept of the modular helmet. But when I think about it, the modular helmet is probably more of a city helmet than a touring helmet. The reason being, if you're cruising around in the city all the time, then you need or you want the ability to open up the whole shield in the front. If you spend most of your time on the highway or the interstate, it doesn't really make that much of a difference. Some people I talk to that have modular helmet, they bought it just because they have a little bit of claustrophobia and they just love the modular. It makes it so much easier for them than having the full face enclosed helmet. A pure white helmet is pretty boring. The positive parts down here in the south is that it's very visible and it keeps your head a little bit cooler than say a matte black helmet because it absorbs less heat. If the time frame had been longer between when I bought the helmet to when I needed it, I would have bought something with a little bit more color to match the motorcycle, a little bit more like the Arai helmet. Opening up the helmet is very easy. Even with gloves on, you just press the little red button and the lid flips straight up and it stays open. Both the Arai and the Shoei helmet are manufactured in Japan, but there's a pretty big difference between the two helmets. The attention to detail is on a different level on the Arai products versus the Shoei. Opening and closing the visor on the Shoei is better than on the Arai, but that the whole mechanism for holding the different positions in place is visible, shows a very low attention to detail. The more I look at the mechanism, the more noticeable it becomes and the more it aggravates me. So I will probably end up putting a little white or black vinyl sticker on top of the whole thing. The shield on the Neotec II is not crystal clear like say the lenses on a set of glasses, and the reason being is it's because it's a molding. The optics or the lens on the Arai helmet, it's crystal clear with zero distortion whatsoever, and the reason being is that this is a visor that is cut out of one piece of, I assume it's Lexan, and then they just add the pieces onto it as needed. It's a simpler but far superior solution because the clarity is way higher. The visor is very easy to open from the complete closed position up to just a tiny little vent, the first step, and then there's 5 additional little steps until you hit all the way to the top where it's fully open. I usually keep the visor all the way closed because you can hear a little whistling when you have it in the first open vent position. Or I have it all the way open, say intersections, out in the rough gravel roads or lower speeds. The visor operation is better than on the Arai helmet, but since it's usually all the way closed or all the way open, it doesn't really make that much of a difference for me. During the daytime I always have sunglasses on, or at nighttime I have just clear glasses. And so I don't really use the built-in sun shield system, so that's one of those features that looks cool when you're in the store and buy the helmet, but for me it never gets used. And if I for some reason need it, then I can never find a little slider because I use it so rarely. Having a beak instead of a built-in sun shield is a far superior and way better solution to shielding the face or the visor from the sun. The beak hinders sun rays from hitting the visor directly during most of the daytime hours and therefore minimizes any smudges or dirt that's on the visor. Down here in the deep south of the United States, there's a lot of bugs in the air, especially in the springtime. And so a good ventilation system is pretty important because you want to keep the visor down as much as possible. The ventilation system, or what I should call my reference helmet, the Arai XD4 Tour X4, it's way better and a completely different level than the Shoei helmet. And on warm days here in the deep south, you really want a good ventilation. Because if you keep the visor open, you get more noise and you get more bugs. The Neotec II have two inlets for letting air into the helmet. That's the horizontal black push-down bar in front of the helmet between the visor and the red little butt button, and then there's a big slider on top of the helmet. The black bar is only open or closed. The slider on top is open, middle and closed. And I have to say, in the ventilation department compared to the reference helmet, this helmet falls far short of what it should do at this price point. And opening up the visor down here in the deep south in the warmer months of the year, when there's a lot of bugs in there, is not an option. I have a mid-size windscreen on my bike, and the size of some of the bugs hitting there, you don't want them hitting your face. In order to improve the ventilation in the warmer months of the year, you need to remove the little chin curtain. It is a fairly easy process, and just remember to put it back in when it gets cold. It helps quite a bit on the ventilation, but it is still not very good. I'm not a big fan of D-rings. They can be hard to use when your fingers are cold, but D-rings has more to do with race regulations than anything. The clasp on this Shoei helmet, they function very well, and I really like this solution. Part of the lining can be removed in order to wash it, and that is a very good feature, especially if you ride the motorcycle in warm areas. The method for fastening the front of the liner is not the best. It's a little too cumbersome and it's too easy for it to come loose. One of the biggest advantages to this helmet is the ability to integrate the Sena SRL2 Bluetooth communication system. This integrated system is far superior to the Cardo PackTalk Slim that I have mounted on my Arai helmet, even if the Cardo has a way better sound quality. The helmet comes with a detachable little breath guard. It has to minimize the fogging on the inside when it's cold outside. When I bought the helmet, the little breath guard was missing from the box, so I contacted Shoei, and Shoei told me to contact the dealer, and the dealer would have to contact the supplier, and the supplier would have to contact Shoei. So in other words, there's zero customer service from Shoei, and that's a big deterrent for me, so I would probably not buy another Shoei product, because it's not acceptable at such a price point. I bought the helmet at the local cycle gear store, so when I called them, they just said, "Come in, we'll have the part for you." It was the diametrical opposite of what Shoei has. The best feature about this helmet, bar none, is the ability to have the fully integrated Bluetooth communication system, and I wish all helmet manufacturers did the same. And the flip up front, of course, because that is the main reason why you buy such a helmet. The ventilation system is far from being the best. The one on the top for the top of the head works fairly good, but the shape, because it's total lack of sophistication, generates a little bit too much noise. Using injection molding to create a large optical piece is not a very good solution, because it does not produce perfect optics. There is no excuse for having zero customer service. Small changes to the shape, especially the airlet in the top, would make the helmet less noisy. Sophistication should be available at any price point, and the only evidence of sophistication here is the ability of having an integrated Bluetooth system. A little disclaimer when it comes to noise: I always, without exception, wear earplugs. Wearing earplugs on your motorcycle is a little bit like taking cross-Atlantic 10-hour flights and wearing like a Bose air-canceling headphones. When you get to the destination, you just feel so more rested and so much more alive. You literally feel like you're cheating. So wearing earplugs when you ride your motorcycle, that is literally a no-brainer. Yes, I know I'm a little on the critical side of this helmet, but that's because it's an expensive helmet and it should perform better at that price point. And in the case of this helmet, it is not very hard to make it perform way better than what it does. Thanks for watching. Have a good ride. Please subscribe. More videos to follow.